Thank you, by the way, for doing this. And I'm sorry we didn't get you in for quick enough for the hearing test.
That's okay. I've got hearing aids in now. So. Do I love them? Yeah, because it's amazing how much I was not hearing and how much I was interpreting versus not hearing.
Oh, interesting. Yes.
Well, they say even back when I was hearing, because I kind of start out at 20 and then start going down, and both ears actually are tracking exactly on top of each other.
For the high frequencies.
For all frequencies.
Yeah.
Even when I start dropping, for the high frequencies.
Yep.
But even on the low frequencies, I'm at 20, which I guess is the lowest of the
Right.
good.
Right.
And then it starts going to both ears are actually tracking the same exact way, which is interesting.
Well, that's good, though. It's good
Yeah.
that they're both the same. Makes it easier for programming and nothing else is going on.
Well, I have the kind that Bluetooth, so my phone goes straight to my ear.
Yeah, now John thinks that's a pretty cool feature because his implant Bluetooth as well. So he rocks out to music and nobody knows what's going on.
Yeah, and it's like now I can be on the phone in the office because I always put it on speakerphone for me to hear.
Oh, yeah.
I can't stand AirPods.
Yes.
Because I just can't keep them in my ears. So now it's like, but it's kind of funny when I'm in meetings, people are like, who are you talking to? Because during meetings, a lot of times, like I called Dorcas twice yesterday for the meeting, and they forget that I'm on the phone because it's going to my hearing aids.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm proud of you for getting those hearing aids. It takes, on average, 7 years for an adult to finally go get a hearing test.
Well, I did it before I left. I even got her to change the schedule to get me in that same day.
Good for you.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, I'm not walking out of here without them. After I put them on, just as a trial, I'm like, oh yeah, okay.
Now, you've had them for how long?
A week.
Okay, so you should be going back in...
This Friday.
To tweak it if you need any kind of tweaking.
I'm thinking about jumping to the next package. There's 3 levels, and I'm on the 2nd level.
Yes.
And then I'm thinking about going to the 3rd level because of as much as I do in restaurants and parties.
Yep. Well, that 3rd level too, you're still extremely active. And so that'll give you features that you'll really want.
The 3rd level?
The 3rd level. And it, not that big of a difference for the convenience of all the bells and whistles that it offers.
Yeah, it's $1,000 more for those additional things. So
right, but
Friday,
because you're so active now, I would not recommend it for somebody that's retired or things like that. But you're out there all over.
So you do recommend going to that level?
I would.
Okay. You ready to start?
Yeah. Just get in front of you here.
Yeah.
All right, sounds good. This is our office. We have about 8,500 square feet. The only thing we do is we do have an audiologist 1 day a week. To support the newborn screening, loaner hearing aid bank, and seeing our adults and seniors. But what we're known for is our auditory verbal therapy program, where we're teaching mild to profoundly deaf children to hear and speak without the use of sign language or lip reading. So we're teaching them to understand spoken language the same way you and I hear and learn, and that's to detect sound, discriminate it, identify it, comprehend it, bringing it back out in a natural environment. So everything is done through toys. These are pictures of some of our clients. Like this one is auditioning to be a Rockette. Now, how awesome is that? Profoundly deaf child to be a Rockette. And these are just cute pictures of some of our other clients. This one is a stenographer. Again, a profoundly deaf child is working in the hospital, doing stuff that typically deaf adults aren't able to do. But through our approach, they're able to become independent communicators and hear everything that you and I hear and live life to its fullest.
So I'm seeing most people seem to have one, but I think he has 2. Is it more normal to have 1 or 2?
No, now he has 2, but you're only seeing the 1 cochlear implant, and he wears a cochlear implant on the other side.
Do most people have 2?
Depends on your age. Nowadays, yes, 2. You have 2 ears, so why not them? So they are implanting kids with 2 cochlear implants, 1 on each side. If you are using hearing aids, you absolutely have 2, unless you are single-sided deafness, where you only have a hearing loss in the 1 ear. But normally, you have hearing loss in both ears, so you fit both ears.
That makes sense.
this is our conference room where we have basic meetings and
And the coffee maker.
yes, and we use that a lot. This is basically admin, the marketing, and Dell, who is our operations manager. This
Junior,
is
were you
the-
out here playing?
Yeah, so when I have to talk to one of the clients, the kids love coming out here and playing with my dollhouse. The Beth Mahaffey, who is the co-founder of our organization, gave me that, and the kids love it. And if I'm frustrated one day, I'll come out here and move my my furniture around. There's tons of furniture in here, and the kids absolutely love it. But there's also lots of language in here. So when we're talking with the kids and you want to get as descriptive as you can, I'm going to push this plant over to the left, or and describe what you're doing.
Oh, that's interesting.
So everything you'll see is through the toys. So back here is our therapy room, or therapy hall. Every therapist has their own therapy room, and every therapist has their own office. So right now we've got a little boy in therapy and the whole object of what we do is close the gap between your hearing age and your chronological age. So for example, the little boy we're going to see, he is 2.5 years old, and his hearing age is, he's 2 years, 11 months, and his hearing age is 2 years, 6 months. So he got the hearing aid in the perfect scenario where you're tested at birth, diagnosed by 3 months, fit with hearing aids, and into an intervention program by 6 months. That is what they call the EDDI program, and it's the best scenario with the best outcomes. If you can get into intervention early by 6 months. When they come in that early, they're only going to be here 2 to 4, maybe 5 years, depending on the degree of loss and if there's other disabilities. When a child graduates from our program, they are age appropriate expressively and receptively to a normal hearing child, mainstream in a regular classroom by the time they're 5 years old, entering kindergarten.
Wow.
Needing no additional help for their hearing loss. 100% of our kids that graduate from the program are independent communicators, able to do whatever you and I do.
Wow.
Tegan and Lauren are both in here.
Hello.
They are our therapists, auditory verbal therapists. Do you guys want to elaborate a little bit more on what our approach is, how you do it?
Sure.
Is it,
Yeah, you can step in here. Or is that?
I think they're coming out.
So I heard you kind of talking about a couple of the things. I don't know if you've touched on it yet with our family-centered approach. So you'll see all of our sessions, there'll be some family member. For an adult, oftentimes it's a spouse or a child. For our little ones, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, nannies, whoever will come in. So it's a great opportunity for carryover as we teach them. Obviously, they're going to go home and have much more time, 1 hour spent with us versus the other 23 that are
Right.
spent with the caregiver. So we get to know the families on a deeper level.
So can I get one of you to show him the toy room and explain? I love your toy room. The toys is the tools of our trade because everything we're doing is through toys. Can I get one of you just real quick to?
In 15 minutes. But I'm good for now.
Okay. All right.
Are you?
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Sure. So in here,
Sorry.
this is every child's
Oh, wow.
dream. Floor to ceiling, 360 toys.
Thomas the Train.
We've got a little bit of everything.
Took my kids to ride Thomas the Train
Aww.
in Chicago.
And you've got any little interest, we probably have a toy for it. But yeah, using that naturally, it's how a child learns. It's how your children probably learn. Like you said, it's their interests. It's the things that engage with them. So anything and everything we could possibly need.
So like starting with the learning to listen sounds and working your way up through the hierarchy of learning. Like I said earlier, the detect sound, discriminate, identify, and then comprehend it. So they're doing that through activities through the toys. I don't know if you want to show him like an example there, but there's tons of language with toys and get creative with the language.
Yeah. So our little section, we kind of start our little ones. They're probably ones that you recognize, farm animals. So creating, like Debbie said, first we want them to detect, like, oh, sound happened. I care about it. I'm going to turn and look when I hear moo. I expect something kind of fun to come. So creating that association in their brain. If I say moo, but I hold up a cat, you'd be like, huh? What in the world? Our little ones have that same thing. You hear a sound, you expect something in particular. Hold on, I know what that is. Someone's at my door. I better go check. I know it came from my front door. It wasn't my side door, because you can tell where sound is coming from. So lots of those little steps as we build.
And you don't think about that because you just naturally have grown up that way. Yeah.
So we've been doing it for years and years, so it's second nature. But for our little ones, we've got to teach how to do those things. So first, we got to care that sound happened. Then we have to care what it is. Then we have to create that association in your brain. And then you get to language, and you can describe them, and you can make them do certain actions and use prepositions and all the things as we grow in language. But starting with play has always been our basis, which makes it fun. Like we said, the resources that we're able to give a family, I'm sure you've mentioned the learning to listen kits.
No, not yet. So as you can see, everything we do is through toys. 65% of our kids are on Medicaid. A lot of families don't have access to toys to use because, as Tegan said, they're going to be used every day at home, doing therapy at home. So one of the things that we created is a learning to listen kit, which is a kit of all these learning to listen toys, and we just give to the family. In order for them to be successful at home, we're going to make sure they have the tools that they need to continue to do what they've been coached on here at the office to be able to do it at home. So we give everybody a learning to listen kit that enters our program. Those families that are on teletherapy because they live too far away or Medicaid transportation can't get them here, we do teletherapy. And those families that don't have access to a computer, we give them a tablet and an external speaker. And if you don't have access to the internet, we pay for the internet. There's nothing we won't do to help a family get the services, because that window of opportunity is that early intervention, birth to 4 years.
So how
of age.
close would you say the tele classroom versus live? Is it
Teletherapy, great question. It's incredible. It's the purest form of auditory verbal therapy because our whole philosophy is to coach the parent to be the primary role model for their child, to be the teacher of their child's development. So with teletherapy, she is coaching the mom. Ahead of time, she has emailed the mom the therapy plan 2 days in advance. And then we've shipped them all the toys or games that they might play during therapy. So mom has all the tools that she needs. And then she's going to, like, for example, the airplane. Okay, mommy, pick up the airplane and tell, their child and have them do it. You want to talk more about your teletherapy approach?
So we're able to use materials the family already has, which can be helpful, but you're exactly right. It's parent training at its finest. I use a sports analogy with a lot of my families. I'm a coach, and they're the players. If we're on a soccer field, the coach doesn't go running out there, hold on, no, you got to kick like this. We don't run out there. I might shout to you and say, hey, try doing it this way. Or I'm noticing some things. Have you considered we could change it in this way? So the players are the families.
So like when they're actually here, the parent is probably not nearly as active.
So our hope is that they are. And again, the purest AVT, we say, if you're watching from the outside, you shouldn't be able to tell who's the speech therapist and who's the parent. Because my goal is I'm going to start something and I'm slowly going to hand it over to you. Sometimes it's an explicit, okay, your turn. Sometimes, and as our parents get more and more comfortable, it's naturally they incorporate it. They're ready. They see another open opportunity. They pick up and they start going. Okay. So it's another good opportunity for them. And also adults learn differently. They learn by doing. So I can tell you a whole lot, but until you hands-on try to do it, it becomes a great opportunity to do it. Teletherapy kind of forces their hand a little bit sooner versus here. They might want to sit back and watch a few more, but most of our parents, we build really great rapport early, and we throw them in and say, okay, I'll start it, and then you got to keep going.
Okay, that's pretty neat.
Yes.
So her next client is 6 months old.
Yes.
We start as young as 2 months, or once they get access to sound, hearing aid, or get a cochlear implant by the time they're 9 months old, and start coaching. So even a 6-month-old, which you'll get to see, we're coaching the mom, and she's still doing these activities with a 6-month-old.
Of what I remember, you're the only one in Georgia.
Yes, we're the only one that's covers the entire state. We've got an office in Macon, and then our teletherapy allows us to reach anybody in the state of Georgia.
True.
Yep.
Very nice.
Wonderful. I am going to grab a couple little baby items.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Sure.
This is our closet of toys that go to the families.
Okay.
And you can see it's all the same basic stuff, learning to listen sounds, toys that we send to the families, and books that correlate with the activities. And I think we missed the little boy. But we've got a couple more for you to be able to see. This is Eli. One thing that makes us unique is we do have 2 Spanish therapists that provide the therapy in Spanish, because we believe that language is the language of the home, and these kids will learn better and quicker with the language of their home. So for our Hispanic families, Eli is able to do the therapy in Spanish.
Okay.
And coach the families. He loves music and bringing that into therapy sessions. I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about some of your...
I really enjoy working with Spanish-speaking families. Spanish is my first language too, so it's really important for us not to only do therapy as we're doing it, but also integrate culture, right? Their culture, their songs, games that they can play and relate to when they're in their family environment. I think it is easy for them just to use things that you will see them doing in their daily activity, in their cultures and their birthdays, Christmas celebrations, Easter celebrations. So we try to integrate it as well in the therapy session again, and kind of like integrate that cultural sensitivity factor to what we do over here. And it's been really a pleasure. It's been a growing experience also to see these families and their kids to just improve, and just to give them the resources and empower them to feel comfortable so they can do that at home. Because over here, I'm only the therapist for 60 minutes, but at home, right, they are the therapist. They need to know what they are doing. They need to translate what we're doing here and bring it, and do it at home. So it's been a really wonderful opportunity to see this family grow and also feel like they can do this and also integrate their culture, their language into it, learn their language, not from me, but from their parents, and being able to be proficient in it. So it's been a really good experience working with our families. Also, sometimes, they have a lack of resources, so we also provide them with not only the knowledge and everything that they get over here, but toys. If we're doing teletherapy, we provide them with some equipment also, so we can do the teletherapy.
Just talking about that.
Right, and that is free, no cost for them. They're not only receiving therapy in their language and associated to their culture, but also being able to have these resources that maybe they are not able to have, and being able to enjoy the therapy as they would if they were over here. So
one of the things I love is he gets so creative with toys that a family would have at home. So like during the winter thematic unit, he'll make a snowman out of a sock. Or Samantha was just telling me about one that you just recently did with a cup and a glove to put on top.
Oh yeah, that's a monster. So it's an inflatable monster. So it's just kind of like using a glove, like paper, and just blowing at it. And things like, for example, usually I like to celebrate their birthdays. Sometimes they don't get to have parties or have like a formal birthday. So if we have to do a birthday party, we're gonna do it, and you will see me doing piñatas and kind of like integrating it. I mean, it's not like a full piñata, but we take a paper bag and some tissue paper, and we get creative, and they really enjoy that. So yeah, I integrate a lot of games, songs, and try to, you know, be as creative as I can, because I can be, you know, talking or asking questions, and yes, that's gonna get me to some point, but whenever I get the attention of the client and the family, it's easy, it goes easy. You know, I don't have to spend a lot of time like explaining or going. We're just working, we're just having fun, but at the same time it's a rich learning environment for the client as well.
So with you being fluent in English and fluent in Spanish, I guess that's better for the younger child to be able to learn both languages at the same time.
Yes,
Because you now know you're fluent in Spanish by listening to how fluent you are in English.
Thank you.
So
for
that's
that.
that's a great perk to have you teaching that.
My English is not perfect, but
Well, yeah, but
I try. But yeah, as you mentioned, it is really interesting because when they come here, sometimes when they're so little, you know, their first language is Spanish.
Right.
But as they grow and they enter school, you know, it transitioned to it becoming to English, right? So kind of like having a bridge in terms of integrating both languages. And for parents, sometimes they are not as proficient in English, right? But I'm trying to integrate both languages and also explaining parents, you know, maybe you don't understand as much as English, but let's try to whatever I do in English here, so you can do it in Spanish at
But you
home,
also
right?
understand the true Spanish versus, like, say, me learning Spanish. I don't speak a lick of Spanish, but I know that I'm not going to understand it, even if I learn it, the way you naturally will understand it and convert it to English, or English converting it to Spanish.
Yes. And that's the important, because sometimes we can get lost in translation. There's some things that are, when you translate it, they don't have the context as if you would be speaking it in a native language.
Right.
So what you're saying is true, right? Having that skill in terms of I'm understanding what you're saying in Spanish and the context that you're using in Spanish and translating that in English, or vice versa.
Yeah.
And it makes it really easy, not only for the family, but also for the client as well.
I think that's awesome you're doing that.
So
Yeah.
it's been a learning experience. I really like working here. I enjoy, as you notice, I'm really passionate about what I do, but working with my families and see them grow and also see the kid, you know, just developing and not only being proficient in one language, but two and sometimes three if they integrate another language they want to use. So
Do you speak another language?
no, I don't.
Well, you're already ahead of me.
I don't. I understand a little bit of Portuguese, but I'm not.
Well, I lost almost all my Greek, so I only speak one language.
Yeah, but yeah. Hopefully, if you come back later another day, I'll have a kid and you'll be able to see what we do. Because usually I start on the hall and have like toys over here, and we start our learning experience since they arrive. It's not just getting into the room and we're gonna learn. No, everything starts when we're over there, and we have like a protocol that we do. You know, they need to listen to their name, and sometimes I have some sort of things. I see, so if I'm talking about fruits on the session, I will have some fruit toys over there, so we're reviewing the vocabulary, and then over here we transition into maybe having our linguistics sounds, and for them to discriminate and hear and also have fun while they're doing so. And then we come over here and maybe we can do something with what we review over there, so they have already the concepts right fresh in their mind, that auditory memory, and they come over here and it's easy for them to just kind of like, okay, I played with the toys, now I'm playing with the actual fruit, but it's the same, right? And being able to not only hear the name, but also associate it with the objects, either if it's with toys or if it's with the real fruit or so on. So
What's your language?
Portuguese.
Portuguese.
Yeah.
Oh, is it really?
I didn't think it was Spanish. I thought it was Portuguese.
Yeah. I speak Spanish too, but it's rough.
Okay.
So we can have him come over and play, and you all can talk Spanish and a little
if
Portuguese.
he doesn't need to speak Spanish. He will speak in Portuguese, and I will be able to understand. So yeah, because it's really similar. I feel so. Yeah.
Yeah, Barry used to be able to. Barry was Spanish speaking, and he used to be able to translate a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're really similar. Yeah. So yeah, but it was a pleasure meeting.
Good to meet you. Thank you.
Good day.
Thank
too.
you. We may come back. When's your next client?
At one.
Watch out, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So when you're looking in the therapy rooms, you know, people come in person or they do teletherapy. So each therapist is able to do teletherapy in their room or have them in person. And like we mentioned earlier, we send them the kit so they can do it, but the therapists are able to continue right here doing the same activities, same thing they would do as if they were in person.
In a little Zoom room.
Yes, and each therapist has their own set of TV or whatever. This is where we have our books and our thematic units. Kids are going to be with us for 2 to 5 years, so you don't want to play the same game every time you come. Right now, the thematic unit is laid out about every 3 weeks. We swap it out according to what's going on at home in the time of year, right? So right now, everybody's going back to school. So there's going to be a lot of language at home naturally because kids in the neighborhood are going back to school, whatever. So we're doing activities and games that associate with going back to school and the playground, and then we make copies and give to the family. If you're on teletherapy, these copies are sent to the family ahead of the session. So everything that they would have gotten in person, they still get, even though they're on teletherapy. We just ship everything to them in advance. And he was talking about like the holidays, like Easter and Christmas. Right here, you'll see where we've got all the different thematic units.
Oh, here?
During the spring, we work on bugs. During, you can see some of the spring bugs, you know, and it's the same kind of thing.
Zoo.
The bugs, same thing, where we do create a lot of our own games and then copy it and send it to the family or give it to them when they're
At
here in
any
person.
given time, I'm not sure if it's like a month or year, how many kids or adults are you actually helping?
Serving. Last year, we serviced 187 families. On average, on a weekly basis, we have about 100 to 135 currently on a week, either in person or through teletherapy. Right now, 84 of those clients are strictly teletherapy. So we're able to reach anybody in the state of Georgia, because for a mom, let's say one that lives in Columbus, you know, it's going to take her 2 hours to drive here, do an hour therapy, drive home, so she's missed a day of work.
Yeah.
It's easier for that family, not to mention the cost of the gas to come here, their time, the wear and tear.
So teletherapy is about an hour of actual.
Yes, our
viewing
therapy
time.
sessions are 1 hour
And
long.
then they do their own thing at home like normal.
Right. Or take the child to daycare and then they go on to work. So yeah. Like I said, this is a typical therapy plan. This was the child that we just missed. So we need to get his hearing age to equal his chronological age. And that's when the child graduates from us. They're age appropriate.
So reality is 2.11, so it's almost 3.
Right, almost 3, but he's only been here
2.5.
for 2.5 years. We got to close that gap to where he is equal to his chronological age. So every child here is judged on or tested on their hearing age. And once it reaches their chronological age, they are now age appropriate expressively.
Now, is that easy to catch up?
Well, yes and no. It varies depending on the degree of the loss, the involvement of the parent, and if there's other disabilities involved. Through our approach, being the holistic approach and the family being coached on what to do, if they follow through with the daily activities at home, yes, we can catch up. Again, it takes 2 to 5 years, depending on when they started. If we don't get a kid until they're, let's say, 18 months old, I got an 18-month gap. So we have to work really hard
to catch
because
up.
The child's still growing. We got to close that gap, plus keep up with his natural growth.
That's why it is so important. You said in a podcast, and I believe even today, that you want to start
as young as
as
possible.
young as possible.
Yep. And we go through all the activities where here's our objectives for the family, and every therapist uses the same format. Every family gets this every week, a new one tailored to that child. It's not a curriculum. It's not something you pull off the shelf. It's tailored to that child and that child's needs and hearing loss. We're going to go with spontaneous awareness sounds. Here's some of the words he was talking about. Toys. Eli's very creative, so they were talking about slow, point, put, listen, and they made toasted bread with food on it using these words as an example, and then they got to eat it afterwards. And
So you can say strawberry, blueberry, banana.
right, but you're using that language so that they learn to hear it and put meaning to the sound so that they can then close the auditory loop and say it. And that's why the voice quality is so well, because we're teaching them to hear rather than just repeat what I'm saying. Because if you can hear it, you can say it. These are common phrases. So this week, what's highlighted, do it again, is what they're working on. So they do a lot of activities, do it again, do it, and talk about it.
Now, do they hear their true voice, or are they hearing more of a computer-generated voice?
They are hearing their voice. If they're on hearing aids just amplify. So they're hearing the normal sound just really loud. If they get a cochlear implant, which, by the way, you cannot get a cochlear implant until you're 9 months old. So we put them in hearing aids, stimulating the auditory cortex and coaching the parent. And then once they get the implant, it's an easier, smoother transition. So, yes, it sounds like a computerized Darth Vader in the beginning, but through our therapy, they've learned to put meaning to the sound that they're hearing the same way as hearing aid
So they
users.
they don't know what their voice sounded like, so it's not
right,
unnatural
right.
either way.
And they're able to distinguish the difference between all sounds, so it's not a computer sounding quality voice. They enjoy music. They can tell the difference between, like Jonathan can tell the difference between a viola and a violin, because they're able to hear all the sounds that a hearing aid user just can't hear. But you don't get a cochlear implant until you're profound. Hearing aids do fine for mild, severe, moderate hearing loss. But once you hit that profound level, you get a cochlear implant, because hearing aids just can't get loud enough for that. So I want to show you a little baby that we're seeing right now. And they should be here by now. Oh, the home center. So you can't just call me up and say, I have a deaf baby, I want to join the program. You'll call us, schedule an intake with Lauren. She's going to meet the family here, talk about what are your expectations for your child. If you want to join the program, we can start as early as the next week. I will never put a child on a wait list because of money. We offer scholarships. We take all insurance companies, including Medicaid and the CMOs. Time is of the essence. We can't put a child on a
Now,
wait
is this covered usually by insurance?
It's covered by insurance, but not fully. So Medicaid only reimburses 14% of what it costs us to provide these sessions each week. So we do a lot of fundraising and grant writing and individual donations, the learning to listen kits to give to the families. Again, I will never let money be a reason why a family can't come.
So that's amazing too.
Yeah.
That's really special.
It is, because, the window of opportunity, like I said, I can't say, wait until dad makes more money and come back. The window closes.
Well, then even if you have insurance, sometimes the deductibles are so high.
Exactly. And we do offer scholarships to help offset the deductibles. When COVID hit, a lot of employers, in an effort to continue health insurance for their employees, had to jack up the deductible to keep the premium down. But now a family is stuck with a $5,000 deductible.
Yeah.
And until insurance kicks in for paying the therapy, they can't afford that $5,000. So we will offer scholarships, do whatever it takes to help that family out. I want you to watch a little baby, because like I said, the ideal situation is if we can get a child into the program by 6 months. Yes, we do take kids that are a little bit older. 2 or 3 years of age, but each kid is an individual scenario. They all are varying. It's not like here. Each therapy room has an observation room. So I'm gonna bring you into the observation room. So this mom was one of the ones that got tested at birth. The baby failed at birth. She immediately went for her follow-up test. The baby was diagnosed at 2 months of age. She got loaner hearing aids on. One of the things that we do is we provide a loaner hearing aid bank. Because again, access to sound is so critical. Don't wait. On the average, hearing aids are $5,000 for a decent set of hearing aids. And a lot of families, especially brand new families, don't have that kind of money. So, and if you're profound, you're going to get a cochlear implant by the time you're 9 months old. So why make a family buy a pair of hearing aids for 9 months?
So how old is she?
She is 6 months. And so we have loaner hearing aids that we maintain for the state, brand new hearing aids. So they came to us, to our audiology department, and we fit them with brand new hearing aids on loan until they get the cochlear implant. So she'll be getting her cochlear implant at 9 months, and then she'll give back the hearing aids for me to be able to put on another child. Again, this is a coaching the mom, dad, or family member, whoever the guardian is of the family. So you can see my therapist coaching mom and talking about the hearing loss. So she's explaining about her hearing loss.
So this is not the first time that the baby's getting hearing aids?
No, she has had her hearing aids for a few months now. She got them, I think, at 2 months. We were real excited. She was one of those perfect scenarios, which was awesome. So she got her hearing aids early on. And so we're coaching mom, doing therapy with the child. She's not hearing all the sounds because she's profoundly deaf. But that's okay. We're stimulating the auditory cortex. We're coaching mom on what to do. And then when she gets her implant at 9 months, then she'll have access to all the sounds. And the transition will be a lot easier.
Now, does she know we're here?
In here?
Yeah.
No. This is a one-way mirror.
So she's, okay.
Yeah.
Because I would think that if it'd been me, I'd be like, squirrel. There's people over there.
Yeah, no.
She's so cute.
There's nothing you don't hear. What do you need? You want to check it out?
I can remember those days.
When they're that little? Yes.
When, not me, but when my 3 boys were that little.
And they do good. Kids, for the most part, do really well. You can see she's not messing with her hearing aids.
Mm-hmm. She's doing better than me.
Well, yeah. So mainly because now they've got access to sound. Their whole world has opened up because they can hear some sounds. So that's why they like them. They don't really mess with them. And then once they get the cochlear implant, they take off running.
Oh.
So now you can see where mom was given a therapy plan just like this of the things that they're going to work on. She's new in the program, so we're working on detecting sound. So you can see my therapist is going to put off a sound and we're going to observe, did she hear it or not? Because she's too little to say, I heard that. Oh, she heard it.
She looked around, yeah.
Right? So this is detecting of sound. And that's what we're doing right now, is helping her learn what sound is around her.
She's like, let me play that. Let me have that. All right, Junior.
I wish I could.
Oh, you come
No, it's
forward?
okay. It's okay. She's getting it. I'm gonna watch it later.
Just giving you any feelings?
Yeah, no. Earlier when you were watching, I was like, man, hurry it up. I'll turn this down just a little bit.
It's like when there's a baby in the room, Bethany and I have to fight who gets to hold the baby.
So you can see we're playing with it now, helping her associate what that is.
He's like, oh, she's hitting it. She's trying to hit it.
So like I said, she's profoundly deaf, so even with the hearing aid, she hears very, very little.
When she heard that sound,
She
her
did.
mouth like normal.
Right.
Oh, this is too cool. I'm so glad you're giving us this tour.
Yeah.
So when, like we saw when we first started, when you have someone that's in the medical profession, you could have somebody doing full-blown tourism, and you would never have a clue that, they were deaf or
Right.
had hearing losses.
Or have hearing loss, yep. And that's what makes this place so unique, because when you graduate, you're just like a normal hearing peer. Your voice quality is great. You can talk on the phone. You can stand behind a person and still communicate with them, because we are not doing any of the visual cues. Everything is just natural through their hearing. So she's working on in and out. And again,
Bottles. Okay. And it's like she's hungry, but she doesn't want you to meet her, and she's
Oh, okay. I couldn't figure out what that was.
so through toys like pull it out, push it in, these kids have to hear things 100 times more than a normal hearing child. And so through the toys, we'll do a lot of repetition of push and pull and
So
in
they need
and
to hear
out.
that 100 times more. The push,
Yes.
the pull, the B.
Because they're associating what they're hearing to what's going on to put meaning to the sound that they hear. Now, see, that's a B, so the learning to listen sound is buzz or whatever.
Oh, look at her. She's pulling it.
So she's pulling a bunch of B's out, and with each B, they'll say that learning to listen sound, that they're trying to develop that sound.
She's so observant too,
Yes.
which I'm assuming is really good.
You got crazy hair.
Nice. You're gonna have to watch this. She's really cute.
And so we do jump from toy to toy because, how do you keep for a full hour these kids entertained?
Yeah. What works for a 60-year-old? I'm entertained.
We're doing this. I mean, we got to get out there and educate everybody on this option, and how do we get the word out to everybody across the state? Yeah. Because the outcomes of what we're doing are phenomenal. This is a life-changing therapy, not just a Band-Aid fix.
Right.
And once they graduate from our program, they don't need us anymore. They're totally independent, like your kids, in the mainstream school, learning just like any other
Well,
child.
I do remember you talking about, I believe it was Rush Limbaugh that woke up deaf.
Correct.
And then he did end up going through this.
He did, but he only had to do a couple of months because he has auditory memory. He knew language all along. What we're working with is kids that never heard sound. And so we're teaching them what sound is. But for an adult, they can go, if they lose their hearing, wake up deaf, go get a cochlear implant, do 3 to 6 months of therapy. And it's listening therapy, learning to hear with the cochlear implant. And then
Of course, his whole life was on the radio, so he had to.
He had to.
Yeah. His
So
whole
can you
career.
imagine, what would you do if you lost your hearing? I mean,
Yeah.
totally lost it.
Yeah, because I'm on the phone all day.
Exactly.
Even if I'm in the car.
Who would your friends be? What's your
Wouldn't have any more because they're all work.
Exactly, but you can't communicate to them either.
Yeah.
And
Well, I
you
just know my mom. We were talking earlier, like she had hearing aids and I was having to yell. So you really got to the point where, okay, where are you going to say anything? Because she's not going to understand anyway.
Correct. And research shows now for adults, seniors who don't treat that hearing loss, it can lead to dementia because your brain starts rewiring itself because you're not getting that auditory
Both
stimulation.
my parents had dementia, so that's one thing I'm scared about.
Yep.
I started, actually, we did a podcast on e-gaming. So now I'm playing Tetris every day, old school. But because he said this helps with dementia or against dementia, so now I'm playing Tetris every day.
I get that. I get that. No, I can't thank you enough for helping promote this, because
Well, thank you. I guess
it makes such a huge
appreciate
difference. No, thank you very much. Help us get the word out, because there's kids all over the place. Hearing loss doesn't show up in just one area or one community. It's everywhere. In Georgia, on average, 75 kids failed just at birth with a profound hearing loss.
Well, before we end, how do they find you?
Usually, if it's a child with a profound loss, the cochlear implant surgeons will refer them to us. Babies Can't Wait in Georgia Pines, we hope will refer their clients to us. Word of mouth. I do have a website. We do social media. Any way we can get out there. You're not.
So what's your website?
The website is www.a, V as in Victor, C, hears, HEARS.org.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, I had to leave earlier, but we really wanted you to hear this testimony from Jonathan Brilling. Our producers stayed behind to capture his story. He shares this story with so many people that participate in this amazing program. Here he is.
So my name's Jonathan Brilling. I am one of the outreach people here who gets to help raise money to help children. I get to mentor all these families that come in and go through our program. But how can I mentor these people? Well, I'm actually a graduate of the program. I was born profoundly deaf in both ears, and I do wear this advanced bionics cochlear implant, which when I take it off, I hear absolutely nothing, which is fantastic because I don't have to listen to my kids scream and fight, and I can tune my mom out when I don't want to listen to her. But once I put it on, I can now hear everything. And because of Auditory Verbal Center and the work that they do, I can actually hear and talk. I love music. I love dancing. I love hearing my kids laugh at my silly, witty dad jokes. And most importantly, I love public speaking. Put me in a crowd of 100 people and I'm happy. I love to do that kind of stuff. But if it wasn't for Auditory Verbal Center and the dedication that they give, I wouldn't be here. So, a long time ago, over 33 years ago, when my sister was first born, which was 35 years ago now, my mom thought everything was great. She had no idea that my sister was deaf. And the doctor told her around a year and a half old, well, your daughter is deaf, put hearing aids on, start sign language. She didn't know what life looks like for a child with hearing loss. And my mom was devastated. She didn't know what life would look like, and she really wanted her child to be able to hear music because my mom is actually from Puerto Rico, and she grew up dancing to music and loving hearing people talk and conversations. So she wanted the same for her daughter, my sister, and she finally found the Auditory Verbal Center. So back then she was just a mom with her child in the Auditory Verbal Center program. And then 6 months later, here I came. And they tested me at birth and found out I was actually born profoundly deaf. And they told her that I wouldn't be able to talk as well. So I needed to learn sign language. And here I am. She proved those doctors wrong. And I'm able to hear and speak and help people all over.
When you hear about sign language, you think, oh, it's normal. You're born deaf, you learn sign language. That's the normal way to do it.
Right.
This should be normal.
Right.
But now it sounds like, whoa, you taught someone how to speak?
Yep.
And then with the implants they can hear, and it just blew my mind that this is not the norm, and sign language is the norm. Nothing against sign language, but it's mind blowing, man. I'm still in awe.
Most people just have no idea that a deaf child can learn how to hear and speak. A deaf child can achieve the dreams that they look for.
Yeah.
Being a pilot, doctor, whatever they want to do. Being a graduate of this program, I get to experience life in a different world, right? So when I take off my cochlear implant, I get to experience, I no longer have to listen to you. But when I put it on, I get to hear everything you get to hear. Some of my favorite sounds are my children laughing and music and honestly, cars. I love hearing cars. I'm a motorcycle and car enthusiast. I used to ride motorcycles, and it's one of my favorite things to be able to hear. But one of my favorite things to ask people is, what are your favorite sounds? If you woke up tomorrow with absolutely no hearing, what would your life look like, and what sound would you miss the most?
First thing that comes to mind, music.
Music?
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite band or genre?
No.
Yeah. You like everything?
And I grew up playing drums.
Music. My middle daughter, she's learning piano right now, so I get to listen to her playing the piano, and it sounds really beautiful. And then my oldest daughter is learning the violin, and I can tell when she messes up, but the violin, when she does it right, it's gorgeous. And I only know that because I also played the violin when I was younger, and that was my favorite instrument that I got to play. Do I play music now? No, not at all. I don't have that music note to my head, but my daughters are fantastic with it, and I love hearing them play the music.
Yeah.
But those are the things that I ask my donors. We ask our volunteers. We ask them to go out and ask other people that. What would your life look like if you couldn't hear? What do you cherish the most? And without people recognizing that, without the appreciation of music and sound, I wouldn't have the donors that we have. Because of the donors and the people supporting this organization, I would not have the life that I have. I wouldn't be able to hear my daughters playing their music, or my 22-month-old yelling and screaming and saying his first words and laughing, and I love hearing his laughing. And I truly appreciate those sounds. Just like you appreciate that music now that you realize if you woke up tomorrow, all that could be gone.
How important is it to you? Because she was saying, we were talking about it, and she was like, oh, it's probably mostly a money thing. There's a big industry. A lot of people are making money on sign language. All of the things that go into that world, that maybe if you open up the possibilities and the kid knows how to speak now, you're not going to go spend the money. Here,
right,
and talk. You're not going to go spend the money here. Maybe I'm sure there's some of that. But what about the people who aren't making any money from it, who aren't profiting from it, but are getting pulled into this ideology, essentially, that teaching your kid how to talk and hear is bad?
It's truly a heartbreaking situation. I think what people don't understand is, if you do sign language first, you miss out the opportunity of them learning to hear and speak just like me. You really miss that opportunity. Let me start by also saying that sign language really is a beautiful language. I think it's really neat, people doing sign language. I wish people would accept that it could be a second language. Learn how to speak. Once you graduate learning how to hear and speak by the time you're 3 or 4, then learn sign language. Just like you go to learn Spanish or whatever language you want to learn, Hindu, whatever. If when you want to learn a language, you can learn it. But start by learning how to hear and speak, because it opens your doors. It gives you access to the world, the sound of nature. If I lived without my cochlear implant for 1 month, right? So my cochlear implant failed on me, which was a blessing. So I got my cochlear implant over 25 years ago. So I'm a little old, right? So I got my cochlear implant over 25 years ago, and I had one of the older model cochlear implants, so I didn't have as much access to sound. But when my cochlear implant failed, I couldn't talk to anybody. I didn't know sign language, but I didn't grow up in a community with only just ASL people. I grew up with normal hearing people. I went to regular public school in my neighborhood. I went to a regular daycare in my neighborhood. I didn't have to go to a specialized school. So during that time, I couldn't hear anything, and honestly, it was it was miserable because I couldn't hear the TV. Obviously, I was like 16 at the time, so of course I wanted to watch TV. Couldn't hear the TV. I couldn't socialize with my friends. None of my friends could talk to me. They would come over, but we would have a whiteboard, and we would write everything down. We had a notebook, and we would write everything down. Sometimes we would text, because phones was just coming out at that time cell phones for us. But it was really hard. And so I can't imagine my whole life being that way, not being able to hear sound. And what's interesting is I get a lot of these parents that have deaf children, and their kids are now in their teens, and they're starting to realize that there's a whole world out there. There's tons of opportunities. And then the parents come to me and say, I want my kid to learn to hear and talk just like you. You talk on the phone, you do fantastic. Why can't mine? Well, you taught them ASL. You didn't get them a cochlear implant. You didn't teach them to hear and speak. Now, you could put on a cochlear implant, but they'll never be able to hear and speak like me. They'll get good sound awareness, but not really know what they're hearing. And then, even worse, I do get, and this is me personally, and I'm not the only one, I get a lot of adults who are deaf culture all their life who now have kids. And guess what? Deaf people don't have deaf babies. Now their kids are normal hearing kids who get to go sing in choirs, learn to play an instrument because of the school requirements, hang out and socialize with their friends. Meanwhile, their deaf parents are stuck in one community and they can't socialize with the normal hearing friends. So now these parents are coming and asking us, can I get a cochlear implant because I want to hear my kids sing in the choir? I want to hear my kids socialize with their friends and play at the soccer game. But they can't. They've missed that opportunity. So a lot of this is you're crushing a community because their ideology was great 50 years ago. The idea was good 50 years ago, but that's not today. We have cochlear implants. They have a life they can get involved in. But there's a whole nother trend to it as well. I mean, they're tying on with the whole LGBTQ community, the racism community, discrimination community. Like, don't change who we are just to fit your society's norms. So they're doing what they can to latch on to anything that's going on in today's environment and shunning you just because you think a child should learn to hear.
Mm-hmm.
No, I just believe a child should be able to enjoy the same life everybody else can.
Yeah.
Why? But let me ask you this. Have you been around people that do ASL?
A little bit, yeah.
Have you seen them wear glasses? I've seen plenty of ASL users wear glasses. Why are they wearing glasses and doing ASL? Why can't they wear a cochlear implant or a hearing aid? What's the difference between glasses and hearing aids?
Yeah, exactly,
That's comical to me. I once had somebody, ASL user, I was telling them, we teach deaf kids to hear and speak, and the interpreter was interpreting for the person. And the ASL user says, well, we do them too. We teach them to hear and speak as well. We teach them to hear with their eyes and speak with their hands. And that's what they do. They just latch on to anything that's going on, trying to protect what they have. And I get it. It's their world. It's their community. You don't want to crush it and take it away. But at the same time, they need to accept that the future generation kids don't have to live in that world. My idea is, how can I help the future generation grow up to just be happy?
Yeah.
Just love who you are and love everybody else and move on.
Yeah.
Do what you want. Yeah.
Well, thank
That's
you
why I
so much
volunteer with Kiwanis to help all that.
Yeah, man, you're doing it, man. You're a living example of the possibilities, and thank you so much for getting on.
No, thank you for talking to me. Sorry I went a little deep on that.
No,
but,
I think that,
I don't get to talk to people that much anymore. So I'm a 100% remote person behind my screen, like 8 to 8 every day, and I despise it.
mm-hmm.
I miss being in an office around people.
Yeah.
So,
It was a pleasure.
yeah, it was great talking to you.